Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. I heard a fascinating interview the other day with the writer Douglas Murray. I've always admired his writing, and he's written in the last couple of years two extremely important books: The Strange Death of Europe, and more recently, The Madness of Crowds. Murray's not a Catholic, indeed, he describes himself as an Anglican agnostic. There are other things in his life which would certainly distance himself from Orthodox Christianity. However, as with a number of other prominent agnostics in the public square, Murray has been moving inexorably towards a defense of traditional Christian faith, and also challenging the Church, especially as regards its weak witness during the time of the pandemic. What was so interesting about this recent interview was the fact that Murray described the conversion of a number of his friends to Catholicism. He made the point that if Christianity flows in ebbs and tides, even though at the moment the tide might appear to be going out for the faith, at least in Western Europe, the whole point about tides is that they flow back. For conversions to happen, he commented, what must be on offer must be radically different from what is on offer in contemporary society. In other words, not cultural accommodation, but the countercultural witness. His friends, he said, who had converted to Catholicism were all attracted to what was its most traditional form, because, in a telling phrase, he said, they want to drink as directly from the well as possible. This isn't a partisan point, nor part of the battle between so-called conservatives and liberal Catholics. It's really, I think we all need the humility to listen to what someone on the margins of the church who's being attracted by the pull of grace has to say. Jesus in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 13, verse 52 says, "A disciple in the kingdom is like the owner of the house who brings out of his storeroom treasures both old and new." Murray went on to say that what would not attract anyone genuinely seeking the truth of the faith is the church that offers a watered-down version of itself. That should make us pause. We have treasures both old and new, but sometimes our embrace of the new is not an embrace of the newness of the gospel, but rather an embrace of the fads and fashions of the world. Benedict XVI, when he was still Father Ratzinger, wrote in 1968 what's been called his smaller, purer church prophecy. He actually never said the word purer, but he certainly predicted a smaller church of committed believers. Hearing Murray speak, I remembered a few lines of that famous essay by Ratzinger. He said, "Men in a totally planned world will find themselves unspeakably lonely. If they have lost sight of God, they will feel the full horror of their poverty. Then they will discover the little flock of believers as something wholly new." That totally planned world is emerging rapidly, and the spiritual poverty and loneliness that ensues. Whittaker Chambers, another convert from an earlier time, who had left the paralysis of atheistic communism, although he had a rather bleak view of the future of Western civilization, said that before the great nightfall, there would have been people who took loving thought to preserve the tokens of hope and truth. It's our duty, as members of the little flock, to both take from our storehouse treasures both old and new, and to be those who preserve those tokens of hope and truth. When those who have discovered their loneliness and spiritual poverty, like Douglas Murray, come seeking something wholly new from us, may they not find a pale imitation of the world in its weakness, but the freshness and originality of the gospel. Brethren, rejoice, be perfected, be comforted, be of the same mind, be at peace, and the God of peace and love will be with you.